Welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. Here we'll talk to the leaders in technology, culture, business, and the arts. We'll cover politics, advocacy, motherhood, writing, mental health, and mostly we'll focus on hope. Join Kim B. Davis, author, playwright, radio personality, event consultant, professional speaker on the Kim B. Davis Show. Good evening and welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. I'm your host, Kim B. Davis, and this evening is a special night for many different reasons. Number one, it is the 1-year anniversary of the Kim B. Davis Show, and I am so grateful and thankful for everyone who is tuning in and listening and watching us. We so appreciate you and thank you and hope that this next year you will continue to enjoy the show. The second reason is that there was a guilty verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial. And so lots of people are breathing a sigh of relief. But as usual, we have one of our favorite guests, Mr. Eric Harp. He is our certified professional fitness trainer who is going to help break down some topics for us while we talk about motivation and fitness. Good evening, Eric. How are you?
Oh, Miss Davis, Kim, I'm doing great. I mean, this is just one of those times that you thought would never happen. Finally has happened.
Yes.
Now it's gotta sink in. The National Guard can go home.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so let me catch people up on, so for
Come on.
those that don't know. So the Derek Chauvin murder trial has gone on for about 3-4 weeks now, I believe. That's about the exact time. The jury deliberated for a little bit over 10 hours and came back with a guilty verdict. And they came back with a guilty verdict on all three counts. And so he is going to go away for a significant amount of time. We just don't know what that will be until sentencing occurs, but he is going to do time. There was a financial award that was given from the city to the family that was 20+ million, and people were saying, oh, that's a lot of money. No amount of money, regardless as to what it is, can compensate for the loss of a loved one. However, in the span of time, George Floyd was murdered, because we can truly say that now, was murdered a year ago around this time in May. And since then, there have been several, and I shouldn't even say several because it's been more than several. It's been something almost every day, it seems like. The latest that we've had happen, and these are the last three that I remember. There, and I'm not going to go in any particular order. There was one gentleman, and I believe his last name is Carrion, Nazarian Carrion. He's a military guy. He was wearing his military fatigues. He was driving. He was supposedly or allegedly pulled over for a traffic stop. He pulled into a well-lit gas station. And African Americans have always told their family members, you pull into a public, well-lit place. As far as I have always been told, as long as you put your hazard lights on, you are not breaking the law. Once you pull over and stop, the police can go ahead and do what they're supposed to do. However, this escalated into something violent where this man, who is an active military member, was pepper sprayed, had a dog in the back seat who was also pepper sprayed. He kept asking the officer, please tell me what's going on. And the officer, he said, just get out of the car. He said, I'm afraid to get out of the car. And the officer said, you should be. That's number one. Number two, we also have a young man in the name of Dwante Wright, and we cannot forget him because the police officer who shot and killed him, I believe is Kim Potter. I know her last name is Potter. Brooklyn Center, right down the street from where George Floyd was murdered. It's ironic. People have talked about that community. The crazy situation, he feared for his life. Now, people will say you should just comply, and there's a whole conversation that we can have about complying. However, there's this thing called fight or flight. And many people, when you are approached by a police officer in an aggressive manner, typically fear. I don't know about the rest of you. If a police officer walked up on me with their gun drawn, I'm going to be scared. If they walked up to me and hit my glass with a baton, I'm going to be scared. We don't know all the situation that happened. All we know is that a police officer was wrestling with this person, trying to get him to comply. She asked him, did he want to be tased? And instead of tasing him, she shot and killed him. And then turned around and said, oh, snap, I shot him. And everybody,
Oh snap!
well, she didn't really say snap, but I said snap. I'm being respectful.
I'm just.
Right. It was like, oh, snap, I shot him. And it was sort of like, oh, it was an accident. An accident is I go to a restaurant and I said, I would like a steak and I want it medium. And you bring it to me well done. And you say, oh, I'm sorry, that was an accident. We cooked your steak too long. If I am in the hospital and a doctor does a procedure on me where they leave a utensil in my body, that can be a mistake. However, that doctor is going to be in trouble for that. He's going to pay a fine, and he may also have his license in jeopardy. And there may be some criminal charges depending on if he was intoxicated or under the influence or what have you, or, whatever. And the last situation that I want to bring up, and I know I'm throwing a lot at you, Eric, but I know you can handle it. There is a young man in South Carolina who was doing something that many of us do every day. He was taking a walk through his neighborhood.
A
And
walk.
a walk through his neighborhood. And a white guy on video is threatening him. And he's accusing the black man of harassing the entire neighborhood because he says, where do you live? I don't know you. Maybe we need to walk you home. And so when the young man says, because he looks young, he looks like he's in his early 20s, maybe teens. And he says, well, where do you live? And the white wife says, that's none of your business. It's so funny to me when people ask those questions and when you challenge them, they're like, but it's none of your business. Well, why do you need to know where I live? And so this white man is very aggressive to him. He's pushing him. He's doing all different kinds of things. And here is the kicker. He is an active military member. Eric, what is going on?
In our country, the United States
of America.
Well, Kim, thank you so much for, and I know that's just the tip of the iceberg of,
Right.
of all the things, but okay, let's break them all down. First off, a big congratulations. A big shout out to the juries around the country who've done their job.
Mm-hmm.
This high profile case didn't provide any hope. Mm-hmm. Not for me. Mm-hmm. I wasn't necessarily hopeful that we would reach a guilty verdict. Of course, hope, but not going to get my hopes up. Mm-hmm. Too many times been let down. But this was a great day. All 12 jurors came up with the same answer. All right, there was no holdouts. There was no one juror that turned the whole thing sour. The man was guilty. We saw it on film. How could he not be? Was the question, and now we got the answer. So beautiful thing. So for all the Breonna Taylors and the Jacob Blakes and the unvindicated, unnecessary murders, perhaps this is some type of vindication and hope that our justice system can work for us. Mm-hmm. Secondly, this military, mm-hmm. this military fraternity mm-hmm. that we have, the police fraternity that we have, it's sickening. When the police go against the military because of our race, it's mm-hmm. even more sickening. Mm-hmm. So, as you mentioned, here's a man who's maced at a traffic stop, trying to pull over into a well-lit area, asking, hands up, mm-hmm. asking the officer who's pointing a gun at him, yes. saying, officer, why? Why do you have the gun on me? Just tell me why. I'm scared to step out of the car because you got your gun on. And the officer is taking that as disrespect. He's like, how dare you not follow my orders?
Mhm.
What is that?
Mhm.
Okay, so here comes here comes um excuse me, I want to forget the center,
Oh,
Minneapolis.
yes, Brooklyn Center. Yes.
Brooklyn Center. Thank you. Brooklyn Center. That's only a half hour away from where the trial is going on.
Mhm.
Now, I saw the video. I watched the video several times, just like everyone else.
Mhm.
What I don't understand is that the woman officer, her partner, the male officer, was already proceeding to handcuff the young man.
Mm.
On this body camera that shows, she walks up to the her partner and pushes his hands away, like, no, that's okay, don't handcuff him. And as soon as he pushes their hands away, my man jumps into the car. When he jumps into the car, taser, 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 taser. Oops, I shot him.
Mhm.
I, for the life of me, I won't understand that one. Heat of the moment, heat of passion, whatever you want to call it. Why she even stopped her partner from handcuffing.
Mhm.
So until I get that answer, everything else is just things that make you go, hmm.
That's right.
Um, but the military, as I mentioned to you before in our talks, Colin Kaepernick
Mhm.
um, was vilified for kneeling during the national anthem a couple years ago.
Mhm.
NFL lost a lot of money. Uh, it was a really bad time in our nation
Mhm.
for the disrespect that this young black African American quarterback showed to our country. And he was vilified for it, lost a career for
Mhm.
it. And now we have our military treating our young man taking a walk in a neighborhood that he claims he lives in.
Mhm.
And the military is like, where? Where do you live? Show me where you live. You better, talking about he better, or
Mm.
he's going to get carried out.
Mhm.
The officer tells the black military, you're going to ride the lightning.
Right. What is that? I know what it is, but I'm just like, really?
I mean, the threats are like, oh, I mean, I'm- wow.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm going to hang you up by a rope at night. Well, these are threats. You
Mhm.
better get out of here before I X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
And I mean, he's on camera assaulting the guy, pushing the kid.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I looked at the time that the sheriff stepped in. Sheriff stepped in and he said, any bullies in this area are going to get dealt with. So he's got 30 days in jail and a $500 fine that he's looking forward to. Okay,
Mhm.
that's something. That's a slap on the wrist. He might even get asked to leave the military. A dishonorable discharge that he could be looking.
Mhm.
So people would tear up their whole lives for hate,
Exactly.
you know, in order to hate and and feel good about it.
Mhm.
All right, my soliloquy is done. I appreciate your time. I I am flabbergasted by some of the events and constantly wonder, where do we go?
Mhm.
Can we sink any lower?
We can, because I just thought of another one. I don't know if you've seen it. This is several young men on bikes in New Jersey that were pulled over by the police. And apparently they needed to have some type of license to do a ride out. And they were going with or doing what you're supposed to do when you're out on the actual street with traffic riding. The police officers wanted them to go against traffic, I believe is what it was.
Okay.
Apparently, when they got to some neighborhood, The police surrounded them, and this woman was angry with this one kid. And he said, "But you didn't say anything to us." She said, "But you saw me." He said, "But the sergeant," because the whoever was in charge, there was a high-ranking someone that was there, white guy, and he was talking to him. He said, "I warned you." He said, "You did," and he saying that they had did whatever they were supposed to do. He said, "But we were riding, and I saw her." He said, "But you never said anything." She said, "Take their bikes, confiscate all the bikes." He kept going back and forth with her. Yes, they took bikes. They arrested
They
that.
did?
They
Are we
did.
talking police took the bike?
Yes, yes,
From
regular
the young,
bicycles,
okay, come on. I want to get to this story. Come on. All right. All
reg-
right.
regular bicycles, two wheels. And whatever this ride out was, it was a specific something with the wheels that you have to have for this particular ride out.
Yes. Come
I
on
don't know.
now.
I don't know enough about
Bike
it
club
to,
stuff.
right.
It's
So
bike club stuff. Yeah.
exactly. So then the young man who was the one that was the most vocal, they arrested him. The story goes because body cam footage and video from the community, because you see people walking out of their houses, and you know what people do now. Everybody pulls their camera phone out. So they said their statement was, "Well, we let them go with a warning." No, you knew that there was about to be a problem because you overreacted. Whatever it was, it did not seem to rise to the occasion of you taking someone's bicycle. And you could hear the guy saying, "Well, we got to go to such and such." And he was like, "That's a really long way away." I guess they had ridden their bikes from there, which a lot of people do in different places around the world.
Well.
They use bikes as a mode of transportation. So this young man, so this young man, from what I understand, I know we laugh because it's comical, but not in a funny way. It is sad because this is what African Americans or Black people, however you term yourself, have to deal with on a daily basis in America. It does not matter if you are well to do, and rub shoulders with whoever, if you have lots of money in your bank account, if you have 6 degrees and a doctor behind your name, if you are in a
I
situation,
mean, it's just being black is
oh yes,
I mean, I smile. I smile in jest and sarcasm, but I smile in pain.
yes,
Um, because here we are. Here we are.
mm-hmm,
A bike, a mode of transportation,
mm-hmm,
go against traffic.
mm-hmm.
Oh no, you saw me. You you saw me.
She
Like
did. I have
uh,
to send the video to
I
you.
mean, it's just I'm gonna find this one too. It's just amazing to me the
Yeah,
arrogance
yeah,
of you know. Not only am I white with my particular skin color, but I'm white. I'm right with my particular affluence, my particular vehicle, my particular neighborhood. I smile out of pain because I say, where do we go from here? You
mm-hmm.
know, I I'm just in here thinking about another current event where the police just shot this 13-year-old kid,
Yes,
who had his hands up,
yes. Adam Toledo.
hands up.
Mm-hmm.
Another oops, another, here he's brown with the name, with the Hispanic name,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's just amazing. It's just amazing that the level of depravity. Every story involves a cop killing
Mm-hmm.
someone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whereas 20 years ago it was worried about someone killing cops. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we're worried about bombs in the World Trade Center. We're worried about terrorist bombs uh, going off in Oklahoma City and other places.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a mass shooting everywhere.
Yes,
We're
there
like
was one
three
today.
times a week.
Right. There was one today in Long Island, New York, at a grocery store.
3 times a week. Yeah, ex-boyfriend walked into a restaurant in Ohio in a Bob Evans, I believe, and just shot his girlfriend and a couple other people, and it's like, yet we're still on the I dare you to come and get my gun.
Mm-hmm.
I dare you to come and get my gun.
Mm-hmm.
How my gun is to protect me. But there's no protection while being black.
Not at
So
all.
it's like,
Not at
it's such a catch-22. It's again, I smile out of pain. I smile out of frustration because every week it's just something new.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Something new. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the great thing is today we got a guilty verdict.
Yes.
Today we got a guilty verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial. The slogan "I can't breathe" has now been vindicated.
Yes.
I could not believe, and I'll say this and I'll end on this. I couldn't believe on this defense, and I know they're entitled to do it, but when they said that it could have been the carbon monoxide that
Mm-hmm.
was close to the tailpipe, I mean, my eyes almost bugged out. I was like, "Damn, y'all reaching for straws."
They were
Well,
reaching big time, big time, big time.
I'm
What
so
about
sorry I had to laugh at
no? But what about when the defense they were trying to say, well, if the crowd was so concerned, why didn't they interfere?
Well, you got crickets on that one too.
I mean, it was absurd. First, you were saying that you were worried about the crowd. Now you're telling, well, the crowd should have intervened because we were doing wrong. But your whole slogan is to protect and serve.
Can't do two things at once. Can't walk and chew gum. So
Absolutely can.
you can protect on one so they can hold the crowd back. They can serve George Floyd his particular justice. They can't do two things at once.
And,
It's horrible.
and I'm gonna end it on this note because I have a good friend who is well to do, well educated, and I've told you
Uh-huh.
this story, and I think I've shared it before. Was driving his Mercedes because that's what he likes. He loves Mercedes Benz and usually has the most up to date, and was dropping a friend off at his house. Not his particular house, but
Mhm.
in a neighborhood at his house. He lives in a posh suburb outside of Detroit, and police car got behind him. And he said, I wasn't worried because I know my stuff is legal. Whatever. As soon as he put his turn signal on and turned the corner, here they were with their lights on. They walked up to him and said, this license plate is supposed to be for such and such, something else. And he looked at him and he said, I bought this car. I know where the license plate came from because I bought that too. The registration, everything matched. What happened was the police officer inverted one of the digits on the license plate. So he basically put in the wrong license plate number. And of course, that's why it came up with what it came up with. And he said to the guy, he said, oh, I'm sorry, my mistake. See, your mistake had this 6'4" African American man who is a worldwide speaker who does all kinds of amazing things around the world in terms of drug recovery. If he had reacted any other way, his life might have ended that day.
The shame is that sometimes it doesn't matter. Acting exactly how
Absolutely.
we did would have got him.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
Ah, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
Uh,
It is.
it's crazy.
And
And I
so
just hope that. Please
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No. Go ahead. Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just gonna say I hope that everything turned out okay in that situation.
It did. It did. And what he said to me when he told me this story, he said, I thought about it. Why did you scan my license plate in the first place? There was no broken tailpipe or tail light, um, no broken glass, no flat tires. What it was, you saw a black man driving a Mercedes Benz in a place where you didn't think he belonged. And so, because of that, the police officer went ahead and scanned his place. I could tell you stories for days. I have people who run, nonprofits around the metropolitan Detroit area and travel to places and have traveled to different communities where the police have said, well, why are you here? Because you're driving $100,000 vehicle, but you might be coming to bring someone food or bring resources or even show up to speak to someone. But because you have $100,000 vehicle and you're black, someone thinks, oh, they must be up to no good, because the narrative is, as the police kept saying to George Floyd, what are you on? It didn't matter what he was on. He kept saying, I'm claustrophobic. And as I have been told, because I don't have this experience, and not making fun of it, but people who have been arrested have said, you can request a van. So apparently that's a thing where if you're claustrophobic or have an issue, I didn't realize that either, Mr. Harp. I just saying, I don't.
Well, by the video, I wouldn't have known that either.
No.
I mean, I mean, I would assume if you could do that, if I say I'm claustrophobic, perhaps it would say, well, would you like a van?
Well, they said they have right, but the police are supposed to have an option to call
They're
for
gonna turn it into, if you want a van, please press 9.
right,
If you want a van, if you want a car, please press 7. And you're gonna be like, I can't do all that.
exactly.
You know, in some of the discussion during this trial, this is a generational thing.
Hmm.
And it will turn out to be this way, especially with the verdict that has just come
Hmm.
out. There are some people, in your listening audience who may remember the OJ trial,
Yes.
OJ Simpson, Nicole Simpson situation. Here we are 30 years later, and there's people still asking, OJ,
Hmm. Hmm.
what side are you on?
Hmm.
Are you on the side of guilty or innocent?
How about Rodney
And I
King?
believe this will be, I believe that same thing. And I
Hmm.
believe that this will be on that same stratosphere. Do
Hmm.
you believe that that cop was innocent or guilty?
Hmm.
Innocent and guilty.
Hmm.
And it's not an innocent and guilty thing.
Hmm.
That's the guys, that's the question. But it's really a black or white,
Hmm.
black or white.
Hmm.
What side are you on? If you believe that OJ was innocent, you must be
Yes.
black. If
Yeah.
you believe that OJ was innocent, you gotta be black.
Hmm.
If you believe that George Floyd was, if you believe that the cop was guilty, you must be black.
Hmm.
And it's going to be one of those polarizing. I know exactly who you are just by where you are on this
Hmm.
case,
Hmm. Hmm.
and got to be prepared for that too.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I had a gentleman ask me, so what do you think? You must think OJ was innocent, huh? And I was like, is that how you frame the question?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
You must think OJ was innocent. Huh? Funny.
It is. It is.
Yeah, so
It's a
yeah,
sad.
so
It's a sad state of affairs.
that's the world we living in. So hopefully we can make it better. Hopefully this is why we exercise. This is why we do what we do so that we can keep some stress off our shoulders and and keep a
That
smile on your face.
that is a great segue because I was going there. So, all of this that we've talked about, I know a lot of people have said you know, whew, this is a lot. And there was sort of like a collective sigh once the verdict was given. Once I was on Twitter, I was all across social media, and everybody was saying the same thing. And lots of people said, take care of yourselves, because although we have a guilty verdict, our anxiety is still high. And a lot of times when anxiety is high or you feel out of it, you're not motivated to work out. And days like this, I know it's a good opportunity for you to work out so you can get out some frustration and stress. But what do you do, Eric, to keep yourselves motivated when, the world feels really, really heavy?
Well, first off, for anybody who does not know how uh, Michigan weather changed,
That's right.
uh, we recently went through uh, severe spring-like, feeling like summer type weather,
Hmm.
and then now it's snowing,
Yes.
and that is easy to kill some motivation. So, ooh, I don't feel like going out right now. So, um, it's a motivation. Um, Got to find it. A lot of us have it inside of ourselves. A lot of us are looking for it inside of ourselves. Look for that spark, that fire, uh, that get up and go. Some of us need a rock star, a 5 hour energy. Some of us need a big, 19 cups of coffee in order to get us going. And I say this lightly, but these are things that people actually do. You know, can't get their day started until they have the third rock star energy drink,
Hmm.
and it's not healthy. You know, and that crash is amazing. When you crash, you're ready to zonk out. So motivation, we've talked in different segments, having a workout partner,
Hmm.
uh, which helps with motivation. When one's feeling a little low, the other one is able to pick the other up and keep you on track. Uh, so there are different ways of motivation. The calendar is definitely a motivator. We're coming out of these winter months. We're coming out of these bleak months. The days are getting a lot longer. The sun is waking up a little bit early. And so, little sunshine on your face. Those who are able to put the top down on your car, um, things start to seem a little bit brighter. So now, if we could translate that into working, now we have the issue of finding the time. What do we do with this extra time? Do I
Hmm.
work out in the morning before work? Do I work out after work? Do I work out at night before I go to bed? These are questions, and it's hard. It's hard, but anything worth having, worth sacrificing for. And so, if it's something that you really want to do, you got to try it. Try it in the morning. See if it works for you before work. Shower at the gym. Head out to work. If it works better for you, come right after work before you go home. Get that workout in so that when you go home and kick your shoes off, now you can relax,
Hmm.
which also leads into better sleeping, better eating habits. Uh, and now the motivation can come from that scale. If it's looking like you want to do the scale, that waistline is going down. Uh, the smile on your face, the compliments that people are giving you. Like, what are you doing? You must be doing something. And that's a little motivation to keep you going to the next day. And it's one day at a time, one day at a time. We make a plan and a goal, but we take it one day at a time. You know, I I try to make it as simple. I try to make it sound as simple with clients. I try to make it sound as simple with anybody I come in contact with. I know it's not. I know the reality is it's not that simple, but we have to keep pressing forward. We have to keep striving forward. And those days when you just don't feel like it, that's when you have to lean on that partner, that workout partner. For those that do go to the gym, well, you kind of gravitate to people at the gym. Like-minded people, congregate together.
Mm-hmm.
And so you start having people at the gym. You miss a couple days, and then you go back and see someone says, "Hey, where were you?
Mm-hmm.
I missed you." And it's kind of it feels good to be missed. It feels good to be made important. Like, oh, I didn't know you missed me. I thought I was gone for just a couple days, and I affected you too. Well, all right. It just works out that way. And the more we get into it, the less we're into self. It seems like we're into self because that's all we're doing is we're working on ourselves, changing. We're works in progress. But no man is an island. No one person is an island. So
Say that for the people in the back. Say
no man is an island.
it.
We can't do it alone. And sometimes we don't recognize and give thanks to the people that help us along the way. Sometimes we don't recognize the little bitty lifts and guardrails that pop up in our everyday lives in order to keep us on a certain track. We don't recognize those. Sometimes we fight against it, but no man is an island. And there are things that will work in your favor. I know I sound overly optimistic and positive, but there are things that if you just try it, open yourselves up to it. I challenge anyone, open yourselves up to it. Find you a gym. Doesn't have to be expensive with the most expensive equipment, the most expensive uh, and the latest gadgets. But find a gym where you can get on the treadmill, lift a few weights. Now that it's nice outside, find a park,
Mm-hmm.
jog around it, walk that dog, take those kids for a little run, a little play, push that stroller a little bit faster. All of these things can work. Thank you for your time.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
that.
Thank
But
you.
motivation, come on, that's what it's all about.
It is. Okay, so here's my last question. So you talked a
Uh-huh.
lot about taking it one day at a time, about being positive. We have a lot of people who are filled with anxiety, and even the thought of walking into a gym, they're like, "Oh, I'm so out of shape. I don't want to
Mm.
go there because people are going to start judging me." Or, "Oh, I'm not even ready to jog around a park because, you know, I get up from the chair and I'm like, oh, wait, what was that pop? Or what was that crack?" And even with the dog, it might be a little bit too much because they're like, my dog is pulling me. And by the time I get done walking my dog, I'm tired. What advice would you give that person to help motivate them?
Wow. That's a tough one because I come across that one every day.
Okay.
Listen, the biggest muscle is right here
Hmm.
between the ears. That's the biggest muscle. That's the hardest muscle to work. Um, I'm also going to blame stretch pants. Stretch pants is casual wear. It's like, no, there's no longer anything you could reserve for the gym.
True.
You used to have, well, you know what, just get some gym wear and come to the gym. But
Hmm.
no, there's some serious. Um, the quarantine has done a lot um, to our mental well-being. There are a lot of people who are just anxious to walk into any room that has other people
Hmm.
in. Don't want to be watched. Most gyms are full of mirrors,
Hmm.
full of mirrors, so you can watch yourself do what you do. Um, but it's also a little intimidating because there's mirrors everywhere, so you can feel like everybody's watching.
Right.
Uh, I mean, I would like to take all of that out of the picture. No one's really watching. Everybody's if they Too many people are into watching themselves.
Mm-hmm.
What they do, lifting their own weights, watching their own muscles develop. So, you know, ah, it's a difficult process. It's a case by case. Take it one by one, and we
Mm-hmm.
try to get in there. Let's get comfortable. Let's find out what it is you're trying to do as a trainer. I have to find out what your goals are, and then cater to your goals and help you get there. Now, of course, we're going to work this muscle between the ears while we work those lats, while we work those biceps, triceps, hamstrings, glutes, and what have you. While we work those muscles, we're working the brain so that we can instill a little confidence and we can take away some of that apprehension because it's about empowerment. You can do anything. If you can lift that 20-pound weight, you can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So who cares who's in the room? And if those people do see you lifting the 20-pound weight, let them say, ooh, she can lift 20 pounds. Either they're gonna leave you alone. If they're gonna leave you alone, they're gonna come and say, excuse me, what's your name? Sometimes that kind of lightens the mood, um, takes the air out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
But um, listen, anxiety is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
I never want to downplay it. Anxiety is a real thing. It will keep people away.
Mm-hmm.
When camaraderie, exercise is needed the most, anxiety will prevent that.
Absolutely.
Fear is you know fear is a great distractor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Many people don't do things because they don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you do that? Well, because I don't do it. Well, that's not an answer. They say, well, why don't you swim? I don't swim because I don't swim.
Mm-hmm.
I don't lift weights. Well, there's no reason. I just don't do. I just don't do it, or I never have. No one's ever showed me how.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't want to have. I hear a lot of ladies say, "I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to get a man's body."
Mm-hmm.
You know, I hear men. I hear men say, "Well, I just didn't know how to do it." I hear some of everything. Um, Nothing happens overnight. Again, change the mindset. You're not going to change your physique overnight. Takes a little bit of time. Takes a little bit of hard work. But if you put in that hard work, you're going to get some results. Um, if you eat right, you're going to get some results. If you work out, you're going to get some results. If you read a little bit, you're going to get smarter. It
Yes.
just happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's tricks of the trade. Hopefully that helps because you know anxiety is a real,
Mm-hmm.
especially in this days of COVID. Um, it's difficult to envision working out in a mask. It's even more difficult to work out in the mask,
Mm-hmm.
and so um, it's challenging. And spacing is challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Running on a treadmill and breathing hard. Well, yeah, we have to socially distance.
Mm-hmm.
We have to give a space of a few treadmills. Can't have people all over the place. Those times of the crowded gym facilities not happening at the.
Mm-hmm.
You got steam rooms and saunas that are closed. Those are the relaxing parts
Mm-hmm.
of physical fitness. Some pools and hot tubs are open, but for the most part, small enclosed areas are not available. There's limited capacity in certain gyms. And we're coming off of winter time on our East Coast, Midwest. So
Mm-hmm.
our outdoor time is limited. So it's a difficult time to find physical exercise, let alone set the time to do it on a consistent basis. So this is a challenge, and the motivation to find that motivation is definitely hard. All YouTube videos, exercise videos are welcome. All up tempo music that gets you going, earbuds, uh, a little corner of the room, kettlebells, Russian twists. Oh, it's time to get it on. But we have to start somewhere.
That's a great point. And that's a great way to end our show. We have to start somewhere. Start with yourself. Remember, the mind is the biggest muscle. Flex it, embrace your power, take care of yourself, and follow God, and everything else will fall into place.
Indeed.
Thank you, Mr. Eric Harp, for joining us. We look forward to the next show where you'll be on with us next month, where we will be talking more about fitness, because I'm sure as the weather gets warmer, we're going to want to get outside and do some things. And so hopefully you can give us some, for those of us who've been glued to the couch for the winter, for the trial and other things, and we need to get up and bones are cracking. We're like, oh, wait, what is this? What? You can give us some tips on how to navigate all of that.
You got it. Until then.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Thank you guys for tuning in, watching the Kim B. Davis Show. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat under Kimberly Batchelor Davis. Bachelor is spelled BATCHELOR. You can find this show on youtube.com/Kimberly Batchelor Davis. You can find more information about me at kimbdavis.com. You can also find us on Apple, Spotify, Google, and Stitcher. And thank you guys for tuning in. This has been a great show and a great way to kick off our 1-year anniversary. Here's to many more. And as always, remember, be magnificent.
Happy anniversary.